hej allesammans. Jag heter Karin, jag är från EPI-USE Labs. Det är vi som tillsammans med Aker Solutions ska presentera det här, eller det är mest Aker Solutions som ska. Vi var med i projektet med att gå på RISE med att supportera Aker Solutions med kopierings- och skramlingsverktyg och också med GRC-verktyg. Nu är det så att jag är dansk som man troligen hör. Jag tycker om att tänka jag pratar svenska, men jag gör det ju inte riktigt så bra som ni gör. Och Aker Solutions Njål, Omland, han är från Stavanger. Så jag frågade runt och de sa engelska. So Njål, can you speak English to this audience here in Stockholm?
I'll do my best.
I know you'll be good. Thank you, Njål.
Should I just start?
I think so, yes. Please do.
Yeah, that's fine. So I have a quite kind of special dialect also in Norway, so it will be very hard for you to understand if I start speaking my dialect. So probably English is best. So, but thanks. I'm not sure how many that are joining or anything. I just see myself, so I don't know who I'm talking to, but welcome to this session. I had a similar session than I
see a lot of enthusiastic faces here.
Okay, that's great. So I had this similar presentation on SBN in Norway some weeks back. Actually, quite a lot of people around the table and quite big interest. That's nice to see. And then unfortunately I couldn't be in Stockholm today, so I had to do this remotely today. Hope that works fine. A bit on the agenda. First of all, a bit about Aker Solutions and also EPI-USE that we together do this presentation. And then I will go through a bit on the journey in Aker Solutions. This in a way the main topic. We have some what do we have in this RISE scope as we are running it. The landscape, how that looks like. A slide on security kind of things to think about. And then back again to test systems. That also was a big topic when we went to RISE and how we do that. And also that's where we use one of the tools from EPI-USE to build sandbox systems. We also have a tool from EPI-USE called Soterion for risk GRC and risk management. And then I sum up with some experiences in the end. So that is the slide deck as that we will go through now. I can't see if there are any questions or anything in the audience today, so I guess we need to take that in the end. So I'll just move on. A few words about Aker Solutions. We are a quite old company, started in 1841. And this is a company that always changes. So we more or less say that ability to adapt is our DNA. There has been a lot of acquisitions, a lot of change in business where we had to go from creating water turbines to have it in the oil industry, and now we are going more back again to the water turbines. So different kind of things needed at different times is kind of what we see, and we need just to adapt and be there for whatever is needed. We have a kind of purpose slogan that I'm very proud of, is that we solve global energy challenges for the future generations. Looking forward and see what do we need now to get this green shift and support what we need to do to keep this globe in a healthy status, which is a big challenge these days. But that's where we want to be, and that's a high focus in the company. We are around 16,000 employees in the company, spread over more than 20 countries and 50 locations. So not truly global in a way that we are everywhere, but we are quite many places. We recently carved out or made a joint venture of the SAPSA part of Aker Solutions, what is on the right top side. So that is not as we speak. That's happened October 9th. I decided not to remove it from the slide deck because that's kind of a part of the story as well. So it has been a focus now the last months to actually carve that out and make that a joint venture together with SLB Schlumberger as a big business change for us. Apart from that, we have a new build, which is some yards building, and also deconstructing things that are needed these days. Life cycle is very much about maintenance and operations in the North Sea. New energies, as you see, as windmills and many of the new things that are coming. Power solutions are more a product-oriented part of Aker Solutions. The other ones are more project-oriented, EPC. The power solutions is the part that have manufacturing of various kind of equipments. So that's a bit about us. Then, Karin, maybe you want to say a bit more about EPI-USE?
Yeah, sure I can. So IMPULS Labs started, well, actually 30 years ago. We were not at that time our own company. We were part of the big EPI-USE. But all the IP that is behind the services and the solutions that we take to the market is made by us. So if nothing else, remember that we are the nerds that can find anything in an SAP system and do anything with it. And we have productized this knowledge into tools that can copy and scramble and slice and report whatever information you need. In the Aker Solutions case, the software was used to copy from prod to non-prod and scramble. And this is also how it was leveraged at Aker Solutions to achieve some very interesting numbers in their business case. But I know that Njål will mention this later.
Thanks. So a bit about the journey, as I mentioned. This is a very high level, also focused on maybe kind of SAP versions and what we have been doing. On the bottom line here shows some of the main kind of merge and demerge and these processes that has been. And one of the complex has been actually that we demerged a part of the company and then we actually merged it in back again. And we actually managed to split the SAP system in between and had to merge the SAP system again. So these kind of processes are quite complex in this company. But we started a journey with SAP in 2003. That was actually triggered by a project called Change to Harmony C2H, where Aker and Kværner, two kind of main old company industry companies in Norway, were merged together into one and become then later Aker Solutions as the name. In the beginning, it was called Aker Kværner. Then we had a lot of things going on in between, and we rolled out SAP also globally to all the countries and had that as a main system for finance and HR that was focused on the C2H, so we can be one company having common processes within mainly finance and HR. And then there has been, and very much SAPSA-driven, an initiative to use SAP full-blown because they were product-oriented, and then to have logistics and PLM and manufacturing and all these things in SAP was driven by SAPSA. While the EPC business more have used other tools for logistics and the completion and building and so on that they are doing. So they are using mainly SAP for finance and HR and some modules in SAP to support that as well. Then in 2018, we went then from an on-premise solution. We started actually on MS SQL and then run that for many years, and then we went to HANA. Also that happened related to when we did the demerge of companies, made a new contract. But 2018 we moved to a HEC contract, which is a change in the landscape, and also then we go to this subscription-based contract with SAP instead of having everything on premise. The landscape as such, I'll come back a bit to that, was quite the same. We moved more or less all systems for our on-premise data center into the HEC environment. And we were at that time running S4HANA, or you may call it ECC 605, because that is not a full S4HANA version. It is more ECC with simple finance as we were running at that point of time. Then we now this year moved that HEC agreement over to a RISE contract, and in a way I'll call a RISE or PCE as the data center is called, for HEC version 2. So we are now running this on actually two RISE subscriptions, because we have one for SAPSA and one for Aker Solutions. I'll come a bit back to that. So that is the way, the very, very high level on the journey where we are now, running S4HANA 2020. I started to discuss to upgrade that to 2023, with that I think is a quite easy process. upgrading it from 1605 to 2020 is a quite big job that we did during the merge with Kværner as one project. I mentioned a bit about the scope for the RISE contract, which is in a way the blue part here. We have the SLA and support, and we also do implementation services when you move to RISE or do that kind of migration. There is a project team in SAP that can handle that as a very professional, good project. So everything gets in place as needed. Apart from that, we only use the operational part for having the support and operations for the systems. And the only projects we now have on RISE is S/4HANA and SAP PLC, which is a HANA component that product lifecycle costing is the abbreviation. So more or less all the others that I'll come back to that a bit after the next slide, I think it is. We moved out of the environment. Solution Manager, Web Dispatcher, Cloud Connector is in a way standard components that you can actually now live without Solution Manager, but we decided to keep that as one component. Cloud Connector was actually a positive surprise when we moved here because we were running that on-premise before, but now it is included in the delivery from SAP, so you can just use it. We don't need to have on-premise additional cloud connectors when we have that linked to the P2P platform. So that's a bit about the scope. So I mentioned that we had a very slim setup now on RISE, or SAP PCE is actually what I call it, Private Cloud Edition, the data center setup that we have. And we moved many of the components that we have been running on HEC then the last half year and way before we moved out of the SAP landscape. So we took the GRC tool that we had, mainly used for access control and elevated access. We moved that over to Soterion, a tool that is delivered by EPI-USE. We already had Soterion, used that for risk management and risk reporting. And then to actually add these additional components was in a way a choice we made. So that as an easy step forward. Evaluated that also towards the SAP IAG component that could also do the same. But as we had Soterion, we saw that as the lowest risk for us to move on at this stage at least. We have been using the SAP portal mainly as an entry point for ESS and MSS and some reports and some few functionality from the backend system. That has been demobilized and we moved that to the Launchpad. Also working on getting all that out in the work zone so we can enable more access from any device. BW and business objects, we had kind of not that much use of, to put it that way. So for us to get that demobilized and moved over to S/4HANA CDS views was a good drive now and a good saving in this process, so we could simplify the landscape. We have been running BW for many years, but we have really used it for operational reporting a lot. In the company, we are using more Power BI and other tools for analytics, so BW has not been in our strategy. So we made CDS views for those and published those to the users so they can actually get the reports needed without using BW and business objects. One component that was supported by the business object license was SAP Analytics Cloud, Analysis for Office. That we then, to get that supported, contractual supported, we purchased some licenses for SAP Analytics Cloud to then have a license for Analysis for Office. Before that was sold by the BO. So technically there are more or less no difference. It's a kind of way to sign in that is a bit different, but the product is more or less the same. We also decided that we will phase out PI or PO or XI or whatever you want to call it, and move all the integrations to B2P cloud integration. This was the biggest job to do, and because we have quite a lot of integrations, but that's a cost saving in itself, because PI is the component that has quite a cost on in a PCA contract, while we already had it in CI for some other integration. So then to add more integration is not that big deal cost-wise. So it was a very positive business case to do this move. We also have been using NFE for Brazil, Nota Fiscal Electronica on-premise, which is not supported in a PCE environment. So we moved that to PCE Cloud, NFE Cloud in this process. That also went much smoother than we actually expected. So good experience with that one. On-premise, on the left side, bottom, we have still content servers. We have quite a lot of PLM documents and finance documents that are scanned and so on, stored in content servers. They are still on-premise. We didn't include them in the PCE environment. You can do that, but we didn't. We also have a so-called term license for the whole product portfolio, so we can run sandbox system in own Azure subscriptions. Make it really flexible when we need to spin up or create sandbox systems for various projects that we are running. So that we also run in our own Azure setup with own people outside the PCE environment. We also have a component called EPC that is now soon running out of maintenance anyway. So SAP didn't support that on PCE. So we also installed that on-premise. We had that running in HEC in the old contract. It's an integration engine between SAP and Primavera. So that is kind of the main technical journey that we did. We simplified the landscape a lot going to PCE, focusing more or less only on S/4HANA. The PLC component I mentioned is only used by SAPSA, so that will follow SAPSA. While so we only in Aker Solutions will stay with S/4HANA and these more communication technical components that I showed. The landscape look in Azure look in a very high level like this, where we have. I just need to move my pixel so I see it myself. So we have the SAPSA and Aker Solutions, two different tenants on top, which is two different contracts actually with SAP, where they have the landscape for each company. And they are linked then with VNet pairing between each other. We did that mainly to support the cloning we did when we did the split. So we cloned the system and then we are doing the cleanups after. That's the link between these tenants on the top right. In general, they are both linked to our network, to this so-called VLAN hub, where we have firewalls and control of the security layers. In the old setup, we actually had the VNet pairing between this SAP HEC environment and what you see here as Axo SAP Spoke, which in a way is my Azure subscription, where I spin up sandbox systems and content servers and all these things. But that's not a safe way to do it, because then you don't have any kind of control of the traffic. It's an open channel into our network from SAP, which is not acceptable in our security policies. Going through the VLAN hub is a secure way for us to do it. So this is the Azure kind of subscriptions that we see at the moment, and the plan for us now is to hand the SAPSA over to SLB when we move everything out, and then stay with the Aker Solutions SAP PC AKR, as it's called in this slide. So that is how we have linked up the Azure. Everything is running in Azure, and we have all these things in Western Europe, in Amsterdam, to keep it together, making it really flexible and really quick to do copies or whatever we need to do, as everything stays in the same data center. One slide I mentioned on security, because we've spent quite a lot of time on discussing security with SAP when we signed the contracts for RISE. It's very important for us to fully understand from all kind of layers. It's about data privacy, it's about operational security, and it's about communication and how people can access the systems. And in general, this is just one slide. There are many slides related to that. SAP has a really professional and good handling on these things, and For example, for operational people to get access to remote control a server when they do stuff, they have good procedures to handle, so that they can't just do it. Which is important for us, especially with the transfer impact assessments and things we have to do to ensure that the data we have control of if that is transferred out of Europe now with the new data privacy rules. So DPA and all these requirements also come into that picture. But there is a set of responsibility on the left side with what SAP are taking responsibility for fully. And then we have on the right side that we still have responsibility for the application management with all the data, all the users, authentication into the system and so on. So that is on our side, and then Microsoft has the responsibility on the physical data layer, and they are in a way behind SAP for us. So we just have a contract with SAP in this setting. I mentioned a bit about DPA and data privacy, and here is this slide on the test systems, where we had a lot of discussions related to data privacy. And the problem we had on DPA is that SAP now say that you are not allowed to have personal data in a test system. Then you actually are breaking or have a contractual breach if you do so. And we argued and discussed that a lot to and from without actually finding a totally good solution. But as a part of that, and I also had other drivers to do the same, we decided that for sandbox systems, we will do anonymization of data. So we kind of avoid having that problem for sandbox. I still have the problem, you might argue for the QA system, that is a system copy for production, which will have all data. But the setting there is that the definition in the way we have internal on the development QA and prod is that it's the production line, and we have the same access rules for QA as we have in production. So we protect the data in that way. But contractual wise with SAP, that also might be a gray zone depending on how you define it. But sandbox system is open to too many. So to have control of personal data in sandbox is very important. So we decided then to use this tool called DSM to copy and create a sandbox system. And also I had a good business case for that. Based on that, I could then in the PC environment purchase a smaller system hardware to actually run it on. So my database in production is around 2 terabytes. For many that is small, some is maybe big. But it has a cost to buy a test system with a 2 terabyte HANA database. So then I could buy a much smaller one, and for that and use a client or client sync with DSM. And we selected this year and last year data, so kind of just made a very simple selection of that. And the size went down to 350 gigabytes. And then we also implemented anonymization at the same time, saying that we scrambled as much data as we could. So that is what we did on this setting. It also helps a lot on the copy itself, because cycle 0 and so on that we have to do when we do copy to test. You don't copy the system, you copy the client. So you don't need to create or do all the changes to SM59 connections and all the things you might have. The tool will not overwrite it. You keep the same basis setup. Also, ongoing development will not be disturbed, as you don't kind of overwrite the development in the sandbox in the same way. When that is said, when we do copies now in PCE, there are much more automation tools than we had in HEC. So if you order a refresh of our test system in the PCE environment, you can actually say that you would like these and these things to happen automatically, so you don't have manually to go in and do all the stuff after. So there is a lot of automation now that we see in the PC environment that we couldn't do earlier in the HEC setup. So then I'm at the last slide, 5 minutes to go. Just a few kind of sum ups and experience that we have. When we implement the system or go live with the system in PCE, our slogan is don't put systems to production too early. Because when you say that this system now is in production, a whole new kind of governance are put into place, making it much more difficult to do changes or restarts or whatever you do. You don't do that in a project mode any longer. So it's important to make sure that you are done with the project things, and this is also for test systems and whatever you do. You define when you are done with the migration, saying that now this is put to in a kind of production or operational environment, and then you need to create tickets and have different lead times for everything you want to do. Before you do that, you can actually do whatever you like on the fly. It's also important to have good basis competency on in your own organization when you do this move. At least that's ease things a lot. And we have that, and had the reply from SAP more or less that our migration project was a really success, as we actually could have that competency to make things right, to see how all the systems are linked together and understand the technical setup at the detail level. So that is a success factors going through this migration program. Getting network configuration in place is complex. There are quite many teams involved. We have a contract with a service integrator that we need to make sure that we have firewall people, we have people that can handle DNS routing and all that network things, and you need to get similar teams on the SAP side to make things work. So to get that right and get that working is complex and take time, so don't underestimate that part. And one thing experience we have now when I have been running on PC for some months is that planning activities and downtime is different from how we had it when we had it in HEC, and also what you can do on premise, because you create a ticket to other things. That is what we do for everything, and they may not be linked. You get a lead time and you get a kind of planned downtime. And you need to see how you can bundle things together, because normally we want to minimize this one, saying that we want to do OS patching and DB patching and SAP kernel at the same weekend. When we do a restart on production, we don't want to do that in different kind of time slots to minimize the business impact on downtime. We have to run the system 24/7 as much as we can. So the setup is very component based, so not seeing the full picture. So if we bring down S/4HANA, that has impact on everything. And also if we just do something on a web dispatcher, people cannot access the system any longer, and has a huge impact. We see the impact. The kind of the system behind PC necessarily don't do that. So we spend time on planning this and adjusting the actuals, also downtime planning based on what we see. So that's an ongoing thing to actually optimize as we move forward. As we see, SAP is working hard, I know, actually on making this as smooth as possible. Overall, we're moving to RISE or to PCE, as I have said several times as well, which is two different terms, meaning different things, but for the same thing in my head. It was a really good project management from SAP's point of view. They have good people, solution oriented, and have a really high focus on quality. And then as the first point I have here on operations, saying that don't put it to production too early, is kind of they are really kind of attitude is to keep the system stable, so nothing should get in that could jeopardize availability or performance of the system. I had this as well, sorry, then I almost run out of time. Data Sync Manager, do you want to say something of this, Karin?
So this is the suite of components that we have for Data Sync Manager. Aker Solutions use 3 of them: Client Sync, Object Sync, and Data Secure. But in the interest of time, I think I'll skip that one. Are you ready for questions, Njål, or is there anything more that you would like to mention?
No, I think I said everything. In DSM implementation as well, I had a summary slide, but you can also read it in a way. But it's very much that it's a very good tool as we see it. We need the time to get it right. It's a bit hit and miss to find the policy correctly. One important thing that we couldn't scramble, like I mentioned, is the email address, because that is key when you log in with using SAML authentication. So we had to do some adjustments to the standard rule set, but in general, the standard rule set is fine. and it takes some hours to run. So this is not, you need a day to refresh using this tool. But it's a kind of automated thingy, so there's not a kind of a lot of work to be done, but it's a runtime.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience? Yeah, just a second. Njål, I'll run to the first.
Thank you. Hello. I have a question. How do you cover the usage rights of your solution manager landscape? Under RISE, I guess it's not fully included anymore. Did you buy the service in PCE, and could you migrate your existing landscape, or did you have to, or keep your existing landscape, or did you have to migrate your solution manager to a new system track?
Yeah, we had to migrate. It is a product that you can buy in RISE, similar to S/4HANA and PLC and other kind of license things you can buy. So as solution manager has a cost and is a product in RISE. And the migration is, as we also did with S/4HANA, it's a kind of export and import of the old solution that we had in HEC.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, with one more.
Anything on the cost that you can suggest? Was it expensive or is it manageable when you compare the previous solutions?
It's difficult for us to compare because in this contract negotiation, we also split the contract in two. So we have one for SAPSA and one for Aker Solutions. So they're quite different, the contract. Also moved to the S/4HANA type of license. You know, we have this FUE based user license model. While before we had the old professional and employees and these kind of user licenses, it's very important then to get the metrics right. But to compare the total cost, I can't really comment because of the big change we had on the contractual setup.
Thank you. Any more hands? Doesn't seem to be the case. Njål, we are about 25 faces in the audience. You
okay,
asked.
you have counted. That's good. I
have.
hope they still are smiling.
Nobody left.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So thank you, Njål. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed how Njål shared their experience with the RISE journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you.